Hi AD, welcome to my tiny home. So this is actually my second attempt at recording this. Fake AD is actually just a way to vlog with you this week, and also because I think I'm selling my home, a way to capture how much I love my home in a video for me to look back on. Even if no one watches this, you really struggle with the lighting because, and it's in fact we're losing out. So in the mornings the front of my home is bathed in sunlight. That this door is boiling hot because the sun comes from, it rises this direction and it sets in that direction. So in the evenings, beautiful sunset, in the mornings it's light here, except it's now lighting up really early in the mornings. So from 5, 6 it's getting light. So by the time I go out, go to the gym, answer some emails, come back, make sure the flat is tidy, get myself ready to record this video with you, the sun has already gone around. Now, and that is what's happened in the kitchen and my bathroom. So I'm trying to go quick because waiting for a sunny day in London is impossible. It's actually been 2 weeks since the last time I tried to record this. So here we go. Come in, let me show you around, and hopefully we can get it all done today. I am absolutely obsessed with interiors, but I do live in a studio flat in central London. It is very, very small, and therefore my interiors, which were nearly 13 years ago now, so they've changed a little bit in taste since then, had to kind of work very closely together with all the spaces. When I say all the spaces, I mean one space. So I wouldn't say necessarily this is my dream interiors, but it was at the time when I was thinking about what I could do financially and to tie things together, there were reasons behind it. And one of the main things to tie the rooms together is this wallpaper. This wallpaper, now, I was meant to look up before I started filming who it's by. It was on my Pinterest list for so long, and I absolutely loved it. And I think I would say that greys definitely were more of a thing 13 years ago, the millennial grey. I regret a little bit now, I know, but at the time I definitely didn't want browns and neutrals, and I didn't know what other way to go with it. And I knew I wanted to tie the rooms together, and it started with this wallpaper. So I've got a little gallery wall here, my great auntie Eunice, a letter from my gran, my to-do list before I leave the flat so I don't forget anything. I've got a picture of my mum and her parents at Land's End, where we're from in Cornwall. Some of my friends, my cousin's daughter eating a strawberry on the beach in Cornwall, my mum and dad on one of my dad's first motorbikes when they just met when they were 17. A swallow, because I love swallows. That was a very early Valentine's card from an ex-boyfriend, Dad and Teddy. Anyway, I'm not going to take you through every photo in my room, but this hallway is a bit of a gem really, because a shoe cupboard. The shoe cupboard is very important for the cowboy boots, the trainers, and it keeps everything out of the way. I hate seeing shoes, and that is just a shoe closet. The good thing about ex-local authority flats is they normally have quite a lot of storage. I've got another door here, and this is the coat cupboard. So when you come in, I put the coats away. I've got this little divider in here by Kath Kidston, and that is what all the scarves and accessories and gloves go in, and my hats. So again, I hate seeing coats hang up on the back of doors. That is a way. I am very lucky to have those 2 closets in such a tiny flat. And through here is the bathroom. The bathroom leads just off the hallway, and when I moved in, it looked very, very different. I've had to make quite a lot of changes in here, and I couldn't do it straight away. I think I did it about a year after living here, and it did start off with a bath. It started off with a bath along the wall that you're in front of right now, where I've now got a basin and a shower, because the basin was originally in front of me next to the toilet. Unfortunately, around this way it's super dark. There's nothing I can do about that apart from rig up lighting. I'm not going to do that either. This is a false wall because behind here is a lot of pipework that I wanted to cover, specifically ones that lead to the toilet. This is Dorothy Draper. It's the original wallpaper from the Beverly Hills Hotel. Unfortunately, when I had this done 10, 12 years ago, nobody had banana leaf. Now everybody has banana leaf, so it's been copied a lot, which is very frustrating. I had a little strip of wall here, and I thought, what should I do with it? I know. New Zealand, New Orleans, Bahamas, the swimming pigs, the Penrose bar in New York, Cornwall, many photos of around the world going down that wall, which leads you into the shower. It was really important to me to have everything brass and gold. I absolutely hate any silver work. So all my handles, all the accessories, everything in my home, including the taps, are brass and gold. And then I got these tiles. These are pretty cheap. They obviously weren't real marble, but I think they did a good job. And it was when marble was really exploding, and I got a few more to go on a black splash there. I designed all of this, and what I will say with it all It was on a minimum budget in a tiny home, and the wallpaper is so important. By the way, this has not been affected. My bathroom does not get steamy or damp or anything. I've had no problems with this wallpaper in here at all. It's been perfect from day one. But it wasn't a budget, so some of the finishes aren't as luxury as you might want, but I think it looks pretty good altogether. Even though I've kept the toilet I don't really like, I do love these. These were vintage bathroom accessories. This was from a train station. It actually has Victoria written on it, and they're sort of still working with the brassy brown gold theme. And this is to keep your matches in. You get a match and then you strike it along here, so I can light candles and everything's close to hand, or to cover up anything else. Because I had this wall built in, I managed to get some more storage out of it, and to cover up that storage I put in a pin board instead of a door. So this is my hidden Heidi cupboard, where I keep all my extra bits and pieces. It's not very organised, all my travel bits, so when I'm packing to go away filming I can just reach in there and it's all ready to go. And also when you're in here I just love looking at all my memories, places I've travelled to like Hawaii, this is Egypt, my goodness, trips to Cheltenham Gold Cup, days out watching bands, and I just love seeing it all. One other fun fact about free will and living on your own is that you can do whatever you want. This was actually weirdly a case that carried a serum in that I got sent from Clarence, and I thought, oh, this is a handy little plastic case, what can I reuse it for? I got my dad to build a shelf, and now it houses all my tiny little animals. And that's free will, and I didn't have many walls, so I put it in my bathroom, and why not? No one's stopping me. And this poster was a lot of inspiration for my bathroom. Born to Be Bad, it's a film with Loretta Young and Cary Grant. The colours, the greens, it just ties the bathroom together, and I absolutely love it. I bought it at a flea market in Brighton probably about 17 years ago. Dad and me as a baby, and of course anything Catholic inspired I love. So anyway, that's the little bathroom, and it's worked perfectly well. The shower is hot and warm. I love my sink area. I love how much storage I've got, especially with all the built-in shelves, and yeah, it works perfectly well for me. And another joy of having free will, I can just paint my door to look like the Friends door. As soon as I got on a peephole, I love living in a flat, by the way. I don't think, if you gave me a house tomorrow, of course I would take it, but there's some things about living in a flat, growing up watching American TV, that seem very cool. The rubbish chute, so you never have to take your bins out, a lift to my front door, a peephole. I don't know, it's just something about being here and in the security of having lots of people around you, as well as my views, just feels really special. But anyway, as soon as I saw this door, I was like, this has to be the Friends front door in Monica's apartment. And talking of views, this is mine. So here we have the Shard, and then we can just pan around to the city here. This is the Canary Wharf, the financial district, over to the city. We're kind of following, as I turn the camera around, actually where the river would be, across to the Shard and then towards central London. And around the back of my flat is some other brilliant views I'll show you in a minute. And of course just over here I've got 10 acres of parkland to go for walks in, which is pretty wonderful. Well, before the light jumps to the back of the house before we know it, because it's almost getting to 11 AM, therefore midday is when it starts going around, I want to show you my little tiny kitchen. Again, I did a lot of work in here. So this again is a false wall. Behind here it was a lot of pipe work. When I say false walls, I probably took them out by about 5-6 inches. But what it did was give me a really clean canvas, which is what I wanted. It was, with the old local authority flats, there always is loads of pipes that don't do anything anymore, but they just keep putting over and putting on and never taking things out. Things normally tiled badly, painted over, everything's trunked on instead of being chased in. So I wanted to cover a lot of things up, and the most important thing that I covered up when I moved in was this boiler. So I ripped out the kitchen and then built in a little hidden spot for the boiler, and that just made it part of the kitchen. Unfortunately, with a low budget and with a tiny home, or maybe not your forever home, you're always having to think, what needs to be out, what needs to be covered, what can I work with what's already here? And I did keep some things that were already here. So although they look slightly different to when I moved in, these two cupboards were actually here. I put in a new draining board. This was a horrible grey one, and there was a horrible stainless steel sink. So I knew I wanted a white sink. I really would have loved a Belfast sink, but it didn't work. So again, this is my first home. It's a tiny home. We just had to go with what budget was allowing, but it definitely freshened up. A major difference that when I moved in, this was all cupboards, and they really felt that they were entrenching the room. I knew that I have very little stuff, especially very little kitchen stuff. I just didn't need that. I knew I had the two cupboards that you just saw, and I've also got a pantry that's behind you, and I'll show you in a minute. So I took the cupboards off the wall and put in open shelves. Again, no one was doing open shelves, you know, over a decade ago. This was quite an unusual thing. I always felt like I was preempting any interior trends, or maybe people knew about them but everyday life wasn't happening, and then other people kind of catch up on that, and that can be a little bit frustrating. But open shelves, it's worked really well for me. I don't do a massive amount of cooking. I go out a lot, I get fed at work a lot, so actually my kitchen doesn't get greasy or grotty really, and I've got plenty enough time to hands to keep everything tidy. But I have all the things I love that I can see every day, all my enamel and tin Cath Kidston tea boxes. I've got my coffee machine ready to go. My cups mean so much to me, which sounds silly, but this was my Grand's mug and it's got Cornwall written on it, where I'm from. So just things like that are very, very special to me. I also love blue and white, and my next kitchen will be much more blue and white, and tattoo culture and tattoo fonts I adore. So this just was my dream mug. It's very rare that I buy something for myself. Most things, in fact everything here is pretty much gifts. I did buy that one, but I could talk about my crockery all day. And in fact in Cornwall, at my parents' house, I have so much more crockery that when I'm in my forever home it will come out and be used, please God. In a tiny home you can't exactly have 12 cake stands standing around. So back here I've got my washing machine down there. It's a Caravan washing machine. It's super duper tiny, but it works really well for everything I need. And then a very ancient oven and my stovetop kettle. And then for some extra storage, I got my dad to build me this little kind of mini shelf which can just take out and go anywhere. So I've got my utensils, my cooker, and this is just decor really. I don't have anything out on display. I really hate that. I want everything to look as clean as possible. And then just down beside the cooker, because you always have to leave leeway on a countertop for pan handles, I put in wine storage, and my chopping board is down there. I love my pink and girly decor. I feel so, whenever I walk into the kitchen, I think, I can't believe this is mine. I can't believe I live here. And that's still after a lot of time. I still feel so grateful. And I just think that comes from years of sharing houses forever. This is also a Caravan fridge. Again, it's a tiny fridge. You can see here it's got kind of the attachment for it to be a built-in on the top. The reason I got this is because it's very shallow, although it is a full-size fridge and freezer, which is important to me because I have a lot of frozen food because I'm not here very much. It had to be quite a narrow depth to not come out of this wall. So everything I did was very, very thought about and very considered. And this is the original cold store pantry that every pre-1960s house had, because there wasn't any fridges available. But the difference with this pantry is that it's got my microwave and my blender and just, you know, all my storage with plugs in there, so they don't have to be on display. I can use them really easily anytime, and they work just in there. I've just used every space for any little food storage, knickknacks, utensils, and then of course all more of my tinware and enamelware for food storage, and it works really well. And I've got another little hidden storage up the top. This cupboard was made by my dad and it's so sweet. I've got all my spices there. These are my great auntie's cookie cutters and her whisk, and just everything I love to see and use all the time. Also, again, it's pretty obvious the gold theme has come through strong. Gold, white, pink, grey, a theme that carries you through to the living area, which I'll show you next. Sun is shining at the back and we're in my main living area of the tiny home. This is it. This is all there is. There's just one room. Now, let me talk you through my thought process when I bought this place. Here's the door. Firstly, the door was hanging the other way. So if I open up the door, instead of opening this way round, it opened this way. And then that led you straight into the middle of the room. But I felt like I wanted people to lead this way into the room, and I'll show you why. This end is affectionately termed the living area. It's just a few feet of space that separates the bed, but I've decorated it differently while trying to tie it into the hallway, the greys, the pinks, to the rest of the room to try and separate them, because this room couldn't be divided because of the massive bank of windows that I'm also about to show you. And here is that living space. I'm literally looking at the bed, so this is just one room. I'm going to have to do some kind of panoramic to show you. But I knew I wanted to do this dark, dark grey. Again, people, I know you're not going to believe me. No one was doing dark walls, and they definitely weren't doing this dark grey. When I say no one, it was rare. Now we're doing colour washing and painting the ceilings. The reason I didn't paint the ceiling, and let me just tilt up, is because where would I stop? Would I stop halfway and then there'd be the bedroom end? It just didn't work. So that left that grey. Also, I have these two amazing built-in cupboards here, and in here is where I keep all my makeup kit. It's my linen cupboard, it's got spare bedding, it's absolutely brilliant, as is this one as well. But I didn't paint that grey because I actually thought once I put my V up here, it actually centres it, whereas if you were looking from a distance and this was all dark grey on the doors as well, then the V would look off centre. So it actually made this into a really sweet little drinks and food area. This V was a present from an ex-boyfriend, very lucky. And then below it I've got my Dolly Parton sign and my vintage drinks trolley, which I absolutely adore. It actually came pink. It's from the 1960s, but it was also silver. I actually painted or sprayed that gold around the edge to try and keep that gold and pink theme together. You will see in this flat there are a lot grey, pink, gold, and the reason it's so prolific, apart from the bathroom, in the kitchen, in the living room and in the hallway, is because I wanted everything to look slightly cohesive but separate areas. So that's why I went with this dark grey, and then I did a little kind of photo collage wall of all my travels and of course around the frame TV. Looking back now, maybe I would have done more Baroque gold frames. I'm going to get a nice gold frame to go around the frame TV. Buying the frame TV was a lockdown purchase and one of the best things I ever did. I absolutely adore it. I never really had a TV before then, definitely not one that had smart apps and connected to the internet, and gosh, it was such a joy in lockdown, and it was worth every single penny, especially for the art, which you can change whenever you want. And in this corner here is a very old print. Now I had this done years before people were doing anything with their Instagram, but I found somewhere that took your Instagram photos, printed them up onto a big canvas. But the problem was it just printed your last 100 photos, so I had to go through and edit and take off loads of bad ones. This was back when we didn't do videos. This must have been about 15, 17 years ago. And make sure all the photos that I knew were going to be printed were all ones I loved. And I still am so happy to have it hang up here now. I will never change it. It's got ex-boyfriends in it. It's got Peter Andre in it because of a shoot I was doing with him. But I love it. It's got all the children when they were so little. They're all so grown up now. So then down here we've got another little down here we've got a little vintage mirrored trolley, just to put a drink on, just for decor, next to my papa's chair, and of course my vintage sideboard. Now more on that in a second. So my papa's chair, I've had this with me in many homes. All my rentals, it came with me. It was a chair that my papa used to sit in and take his naps in. I just had it recovered, obviously. I had it recovered and painted, and it was recovered by one of my best friend's mums. Now, I had to, at the time, choose a base fabric that was white, because in rental accommodations you can only paint the walls white. And I wanted it all to tie in, and I also had I painted the wood white. It's got grubby. I love the fabric, because I absolutely love peonies. I love pink and green. I just wonder if I had had a plain colour, or I'd had more of a fabric that had tons of different tones in it, it would have been a little bit easier to tie into future decoration. But let's see, maybe I'll base a room around it one day. The footstool as well was my great Auntie Eunice's, and I had this covered in the pink velvet, which will match in later to my bed when I show you that, but it also ties the chair together. And this vintage sideboard I picked up on, I don't know, some kind of resale site, I don't know what it was. Facebook Marketplace definitely didn't exist then. I painted it. It was all of this wood brown on the top chair. I painted it all white because, rightly or wrongly, we were all painting wood white. It was definitely a thing, and I don't regret it because I think it works in this room. I do think maybe it was a shame for that piece to do that to it, although of course it could be brought back easily. So I painted it white. I painted one of the drawers in the grey of my headboard that you'll see soon, and I painted the rest gold, and the gold was to tie in the gold drinks trolley, which is just over here. It was to try in the gold table legs and just all the gold accessories in the room. So that was my kind of TV sitting room area. And now let's flip around to see the bedroom. I've had to face you this way around because it is so bright right now. The sun is flooding in that if I was looking into it, I couldn't see you. And anyway, this means you can see the bedroom part more. So My sofa at the end of the bed, I had that made to be exactly the same width as a king size bed, which I've got. I also had the fabric dyed to match the same colour as the paint colour on the headboard, and the reason for that is because of my very now famous and much beloved Coal & Sun wallpaper, which was the starting point to this whole room and why we went for a pink and grey theme. This Coal & Sun wallpaper was super expensive, and well, just as expensive as the other wallpapers, but the reason for it just being the alcoves is, one, I thought it was pretty busy, and two, I just thought let's save some money, because where else was it going to go? I just wanted it to be back there. Back then not a lot of people were putting wallpaper into alcoves, and I thought it was a great start to try and tie this area together. So I took a wallpaper sampling and had this headboard paint dyed to match. Now, none of this was here when I moved in. This is actually another secret hidden wall. In fact, this little doorway here with mine and my ex-boyfriend's when we painted it, see, 7th of the 4th. Wow. I actually can't believe that. I couldn't have filmed this yesterday because I had 2 jobs yesterday, and they were from the midday onwards, so I knew the light wouldn't be right in the room to film yesterday. But to be 1 day out, 1 day out, 12 years ago, 7th of the 4th, 15. I'm hoping that is another sign that the fate lining up for me to sell this home is happening soon. I don't want to sell this home, I don't want to leave this home, but I know I have to. And that's one of the reasons I'm actually making this video, so I can look back on it, because I'm extremely emotional, very sentimental, and very upset about leaving, because I just love it here so much. It's like a little slice of heaven. Quiet, peaceful, warm, sunny, cozy. It's just everything. But that really shocked me then. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. This is a false wall. Now the reason for that is there is an old fireplace behind there, but it's not a nice old fireplace. Like I say, this was built in the 60s. It's just an old gas fireplace that's gone now. But what is left of it is the chimney breast, which is nowhere near as wide as this, and it's off center. It actually goes like kind of, well, you can't see, but kind of goes like there. And a gas pipe that's all been capped off and it's not in use anymore. But because this is a concrete floor, to take all that piping out would mean bringing up the floor. I wasn't going to do that, so I just slightly moved this wall forward a little bit. I was always going to widen it. I was never going to keep that chimney breast because I needed the bed down this area of the room. It could have easily gone down the TV end, but when you open the door into the room, you would have walked straight into it, and I didn't want that. So I moved the bed down this end, but then I had the fireplace to deal with, and the fireplace would not have been as wide as my king size bed. This, by the way, is by the English Headboard Company. It's white. Don't get a white headboard. I'm gonna have to either completely rip it off and recover it when I move, or somehow paint the fabric. You know, you see people dyeing it. Let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Anyway, so I built this in, and then I built the shelves and my beauty area either side to match the king size bed. So it was always going to be widened this way, and I just brought it out this way a little bit. But what that was great for is it gave me all of this hidden storage. This is the other side of the headboard, and obviously, as you can see, I've got all this hidden storage which goes all the way down. I've also got some secret areas in there which contain some secret things. So this has been super handy as extra storage. I designed this so I'd have somewhere to sit, a drawer to put my makeup in, and obviously my Hollywood mirror like that I've always had. I've taken it from home to home and had it fit in there perfectly with my Coal & Sun wallpaper behind it. The reason for this shelf, instead of it going all the way up, was to mirror this side, so they're exactly the same height across from that shelf there to that shelf there. Looking back now, do I need it? Probably not. I actually don't even use that top shelf for storage because I don't want it to be visible, but you could probably put baskets up there. It is pretty handy. In fact, I've got so much storage in this place, I don't even use it all. When you live alone, people say, oh, you have a place, you fill it. I don't think you do. I think you're just really careful when you live in a studio flat. I have tons of clothes, I have all my belongings, all my most loved things, but it somehow works. It's just been really strategic, and yeah, it's been perfect. So down here I keep my little chair to sit on. This is also a storage bin, so I have a lot of storage in there. And this is just a little side table that I bring out if I've got guests around and I want to put drinks on it in the living area, but I just tuck it in there when I don't need it because obviously I'm normally on my own. So let's talk about these lights. Now, these lights I put in myself, and obviously I wired them up through this fake, you know, chimney breast that I put in on these wires. And what can happen is when you're reading, you can lower them or lift them depending on the height you need. And the strings are pink, obviously. The fittings are brass, and I've loved them from the very beginning. I bought them long before anyone really were using these kind of big vintage bare bulbs. And do you know what? I think I've maybe changed them, maybe one of them once. They've lasted for so many years. They've lasted, well, nearly 15 years now, so that's not bad going for a bulb. Of course, I've got a picture of me and my papa on his tractor when I was about 10 or 11, and then me at my 40th, my cousin's children, on both my farms, so I think that's very special. My sofa is the perfect size for the end of the bed, and I thought this worked a really good way, having, you know, some people might put the bed, you know, out this way. I tried every other way for this flat in my mind. I knew when I moved in and the day I got the keys exactly how it was going to look. So anyone who moves in from now on, I think they can move things around or change things, and they absolutely could, but I feel like this works so well. You can watch the TV from bed, you can sit on the sofa, you can have people to stay, this folds out, the bed lifts up actually, I've got tons of storage underneath there, and of course this is the same colour as everything else, so I think it works really well. So this was the old boiler cupboard. I changed all the handles into gold ones and made it into my wardrobe. I had the boiler taken out, I now have a combi boiler in the kitchen, and this houses all my clothes. It goes all the way down there and around the corner. And then at the bottom I've just got a little rolly trolley for my handbags, some belts, and it's perfect for me. So that's it. That is the tiny house tour. All my favourite things in one place, and this amazing bank of windows that goes all the way down. I actually had these curtains made in a white cotton linen by my friend's mum, the same person who made my papa's armchair, and they go all the way down there, and then I had a little recess built just behind this wall and they can push back into there. And I always wanted them pulled from one side. I didn't want them split in the middle because there's this little wall here which actually has a desk on that I'll show you, but they just pull all the way back into the recess, and it sort of just looks like an extended wall. What I would do next time is definitely put some kind of cover over the top, you know, some kind of, just to cover the top. Looks really messy and it would block out a lot of the light, but you learn all these lessons on your first build. And then we're around into the bedroom area, which loops back round to the radiator and back to where we started. So it is super tiny. One last little thing I had to show you was this fold out desk. Just behind here is a fold away desk. I've got all my crafting bits, all my supplies in there. I fold it down, I turn that little chair around, sit there, I can watch TV, and then when I'm done, I fold it back up. Flip it into place, draw the curtains, and no one knows it's there. And also one other last great space saver for you to see is my retractable washing line. This is how I dry my clothes. It's got a little hole on the end. I've got different hooks around different parts of the room, and I just hook it up wherever the sun is shining, hang my washing up, and it dries in no time. Right, so that's it. AD, that's my tiny home tour. One for the memory bank, a very different departure from my usual diary of a hair and makeup artist that I'll be back next week with, because I am off to Aldi HQ in Atherstone to film a new TV series about the supermarket chain and all of their bargains. Hopefully I'll come back with a candle, please. So I'll be filming that, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry it's a little bit different, but it's one for posterity.